Hey everybody, John with HomeSmart. I'm in Sarasota near downtown, and what I want to do today is I'm going to take you through some foreclosures that really represent great value and opportunity. If you're looking at off-market property specifically, maybe you're an investor and you're trying to understand like what holds down here in Sarasota. We're close to downtown. When you look down this way, you got Selby Gardens and you got downtown, literally within walking distance. It is busy around here, but this is a premier area. I'm gonna wind up flipping you around and we're gonna walk over to a property that just sold at foreclosure about a month ago for $855,000. Now, it's actually a teardown, which tells you how valuable the property is in this area. One of the things that really make this property particularly stand out to me, besides the fact that it's so close to downtown Sarasota, is the fact that it is a canal property. So you have the ability to wind up, boating right into the Gulf of Mexico, which is a huge, huge plus. And a lot of times, boaters, they're trying to get as close to open water as possible. So I want to turn you around here as we walk down this street. And you can see some of the homes in this area are nice, but not incredibly amazing. There's one on the end of the road there I'm going to show you. But it does represent an amazing opportunity because, as you can see, some of these homes that are older will wind up being knocked down. Here's one that's relatively new. It's got a nice border wall on this foreclosure property that's shut down. That's a picture of the neighbor. I really think this property can shine once it gets knocked down with a new build. Obviously, this is for somebody that has money, but you can see this property was really just a teardown, especially in this area. Nobody's going to want to come and purchase the property and try and rehab it because it just wouldn't make sense. It'd be a lot easier to rehab it. So as I go around here, you can see this got hit by the hurricane pretty bad. We've got the mangroves here, which now for people that are going to wind up buying property and it didn't already have, a seawall built. You all have seawalls, I guess, but this one, you can see the seawall is really bad. But you got the neighbor. He's got a nice house, nice property. All right, guys, I'm going to give you some details on this property later, but as you can see, the condition, not exactly something that you're going to wind up buying and rehabbing, but doesn't matter. This location, near downtown Sarasota, it's worth it. All right, I'm back at this place because I made a mistake. When I thought I had the drone video flying around, yeah, it wasn't recording. Blooper. But anyway, I wanted to kind of take a close look at the front of this place. It's pretty creepy. Can even see like back in there. Let's see if I get the door is actually open. It's just wide open. I mean, this place must have been abandoned for quite some time. Anyway, interesting to see what the footage looks like from the drone up above. Amazing location. Believe it or not, this area is going to actually do really well in the future. Can't go wrong with being on the water. 5 minutes from Selby Gardens, right on top of downtown. Yeah, you're winning. Hey, John here. I actually ran into the neighbor of this property here near downtown Sarasota. What's your name, sir?
Mike.
Mike, nice to meet you. So how long have you been a resident here near downtown Sarasota, living right on the canal?
Oh, I bet at least almost 14 years.
Wow. Are you a resident of Sarasota? I mean, before, or you moved from out of
I've lived here all
town?
my life. My wife had a house. Well, my wife had a house here that she lived in. We tore it down, and then I built this one.
I think anybody that can get into close to downtown Sarasota and be on a canal, it's a winning combination. I've dealt with a lot of people at builders. They want to be close to open water, really. And obviously things. Some of these people, they buy boats and they're moving way out to Lakewood Ranch, way off the river, and it's taking them 20 minutes. I mean, to get to the
Yeah.
Gulf.
Yeah, most people that we've been talking to, and I used to live out on Lido too. They'd rather be in here than out there on the island, you know?
Yeah, a lot of benefits to being off the island for multiple reasons, insurance purposes, but just quality of life. Very easy to get to where you want to go near downtown as opposed to trying to get on and off the island. Well, thank you so much, Mike. I really
Okay.
appreciate it.
Last but not least, this is the foreclosure that I thought was the most interesting out of all of three of them. 1938 High Point Drive, the most expensive one that sold, and to me could represent the best value. This property was sold and foreclosed on for $855,000, but the value and the range that we see, they don't have a value estimated on. Oh, they do. Okay. Yeah. Point of value that's somewhere between low of 814 to the high of 956, but the county assessors actually already assessing the land value at 1.1. But what gets really interesting is I don't think that's even close to being what the property's worth. I think it's definitely higher to that. I think it's more in line with RPR's valuation of 1.2 million. That's probably where I'd put the number around. At least start at 1.2 if you were going to sell this, and maybe even more. And here's the reason why. So check this out. Zillow, they don't even have his estimate. There's nothing there. They probably wouldn't have enough information to really pull. But check this out. When we look at, I wanted to go into Matrix for the area and pull up all the different possibilities for somebody that would want to buy a canal lot close to downtown Sarasota. How many are there? Let's see. If you're not on the island, right? Because I can pull this back up on the right side here, which might be your left. You can see a lot of the lots that are available are on Longboat Key or Siesta Key, or just not anywhere near downtown, right? So let's pull this in and get closer to downtown in the subject territory. So downtown, really, when you think about downtown Sarasota, is this where I'm moving the cursor around. Bayfront, Laurel Park is like the closest neighborhood to it. Kind of older, but nonetheless. So the subject property is actually right here, right in this little corner. That's how close it is, walking distance. Let's take a look at how much money the only place that would sell close is here. This is going to sell for, now this is with a build on it. So initially this builder came in at a price of 4.9 million. And this is west of Trail, empty lot that they're going to build a new house on. He's down to 3.9. Again, west of Trail, the lot, I mean, the area is a little bit nicer. You're kind of in around some nicer houses, and they've already cleared the lot. But again, you're not buying the lot at this point. You're buying the builder's plan, and you're putting the money in, and you're just buying what he's going to give you. So the builder already bought the lot, and he's probably going to make a little bit on that as well. And I'm sure he paid a lot of money for that. But let's take a look at one more. I think this is interesting too. Screen. I looked at another one that was here as well. And this one's a little bit further down, also considered west of Trail, but nowhere near downtown, right? And this one, he's on the market for 1.5 million. And he says right here, you can renovate or build new. And you're not even close to downtown. And these houses that this particular property is near, they're nice. I mean, they're not, anything to sneeze at. I'd love to be there, but I'm saying it's not downtown. It's not Bird Key, which again is an exclusive area. If you're familiar with Sarasota, that's just really exclusive. But at the end of the day, this particular property for 855, I mean, if you had the money and you were looking for something close to downtown, you were a boater, winning all day long. Because now you can come in, you can pick your builder as opposed to the other guy. A lot of times what happens with these lots is if you're looking for an exclusive property, is these builders are already looking. They're already, looking at possible teardowns, and they'll overpay. Some builder may wind up buying that one for 1.5 million, just to tear it down, because you can't find, you can't manufacture new land close to a downtown area that's premier like Sarasota and have 5 to 10 minutes in open water in the Gulf of Mexico. Or is it Gulf of America? I don't even know anymore, but whatever it is, it's cool and it's awesome.
All right, guys. Next foreclosure that just went under last week right here in Sarasota. A very different house. This one actually is not on the water, and nor is it near downtown. But it did represent a value because this property sold for, I believe it was $168,000. I'll have to double check that number. But it's a single family house. It's a small one. It is in the middle of Sarasota. And you're probably not going to find too many single-family houses in the mid-100s for sale. Now, it does need work, but it does have a average-size lot near 10,000 square feet or more, I think it was. But you can see construction quality, definitely a C or a D. Let's take a look back here. In addition to that, we need some landscaping. But wait, there's a hot tub. You can see over here we got a lot of stuff going on. But again, could be a teardown. Could wind up being a rental. You know, if you could fix this place up and you're in it for 200 and say 50,000. And you can turn a rental on a single family house for approximately, say, $2,500 a month, which is very reasonable. That could turn a nice profit year over year. Or you could just turn around and try and sell it, because as you can see right here, we have some newer homes. That one, as well as that one. And, you know, the area is actually, there's another one down that way as well. And it looks like they're going to be putting in some new homes beyond that chain link fence. So it's not a bad area. It's, like I said, it's very convenient once more. And convenience in Sarasota, single family house, all day long, even condition moderate, you're still gonna wind up capturing on the low end, depending on the size, $2,000 or more. And on the high end, I mean, you know, sky's the limit, because Sarasota. All right, check you guys out later.
2839 Olympic. Not bad. I mean, somebody's going to make a decent buck on this one, because if you look, the map on this one being so close to Swift Road and Clark, which connects you to the Sticky Point Bridge, it's right where you get to Siesta Key. So the most wonderful beach you could ever want to be on in Florida, in my opinion, Siesta Key. And this house is relatively close to it. You get a single family house in Sarasota that's close to it for $167,000, you're winning. I mean, at that point, it's probably, you're buying it for less than lot value. So it'd make a great rental, or knock down and just build it and do. All right. And as you can see, when you look at this particular property, the values vary. So the Property Onion, which is the foreclosure site I use, they value the property at $346,000. When you look at Zillow, you can see here they only value it at $266,000. And then also, if you look over on my site over here, this is something called RPR, comes directly from the National Association of Realtors, and it's one of the most trusted sites. They give it a value of $311,000, and it's considered the most trusted because they're using actually more data points. And if they don't use a lot of data points, they come out and say, oh, well, we don't have too much confidence in it. Here, 4 out of 5 stars. I mean, so they probably got a decent amount of information to say, hey, you know what? Buying it at $167,000, good deal.
Hey guys, here at the next auction in Sarasota that sold about a week ago for $130,000. This one's right across the street, as you can see, from the Polytech High School. And here in Sarasota, again, nice location, right on Beneva Avenue, close to everything, maybe 10, 15 minutes tops to get to downtown, another 10 to 15, maybe 20 tops to get to Siesta Beach, again, probably 15. But anyway, let's take a look. This house sold a week ago for $138,000. And you can see, again, another one that just needs a lot of work. I don't know if this is a teardown because of what the value of the properties would be next door, and of course, plus we're on a main street. But nonetheless, at about $130,000 for sale, I mean, it's really lot value. And at this point, you know, if it's salvageable, obviously it's brick, solid brick structure here, cinder block, one level. You can see it needs a little landscaping again. It's really bad. Everything looks pretty tore up. This is probably a tear down. most likely, because I don't see how they could recover this outside and knocking it down. All the windows are bad, the roof's bad, about everything in it's bad. So anyway, but here's another example of, you know, for $138,000, you buy this, you knock it down. Benefit of buying a property that is already built upon is you're not paying any impact fees. So that's always a bonus. So you're gonna pay for the lot, and then when you build, you're kind of free and clear because it's already had an existing structure on it. And that at the end of the day is gonna kind of equal the amount of money it's gonna take you in cost to break this and tear this down. So a house like this size, you're probably looking at about 20 grand, maybe less, maybe 15 to 20 grand to tear it down. And if you were going to wind up building on a brand new lot that had nothing, your impact fees would be around 15 to 20 grand as well. So with that being said, I'm going to continue to kind of show you the different properties that are off market, that are coming through on short sales and foreclosures. And I hope you follow me. Take care, guys. Bye.
All right, let's take a look at the property on Beneva again, but this time, instead of looking at it from a foreclosure, we're looking at it as a real estate owned property that's now listed on the MLS for sale. Now, the biggest difference here is when it's in, or when a property is in foreclosure, bidders are typically not allowed to inspect the interior of the property before purchasing it. So this restriction exists because there's actually, it's still owned legally by the borrower until the foreclosure ends. So for potential buyers, as you're going through the process, if you're looking at buying foreclosures, it does present some risk, right? We have unknown condition, so we can't inspect the interior. Buyers cannot. We may have water damage, structural issues, or possibly other costly repairs. Could be occupied as well. Luckily, Florida has some pretty good eviction laws, so you know and it's not like back around COVID where they had all these restrictions. So this tends not to be as much of an issue, but could be. And then hidden costs. What happens if there's unpaid taxes or liens? Foreclosure properties are also sold as is. So it's not like you're getting some sort of warranty or guarantee on anything. And you'll see as we look at these pictures, nothing would be warranted in here anyway. But anyway, you know, but to mitigate these risks, there are different things we do, right? So we research the property thoroughly. We look at all the public records. We look at all the liens and legal issues. We're going to pull a title, so we'll know all that stuff ahead of time on anything that could be affecting the property. You're going to have to budget out. So when you bid, you're framing that bid based on, okay, this property, if it had a lot of stuff wrong and then maybe a little extra, throw that in. So when you wind up getting ready to either flip it or rent it, you know where your costs lie, or at least you have a pretty good idea, right? With a little bit of a buffer in there. And then lastly, work with a real estate agent and somebody like myself who's certified in foreclosures and knows how to navigate the process and also is deeply embedded in the Sarasota area, looking at predominantly Sarasota foreclosures. All right, so to manage effectively, give me a call. But hey, before I let you go, let's check out these pictures. So what does the inside of this property look like? Back end, very nice backyard. No, not so much. New roof, pretty much new everything. And it is interesting when you look at this building. I mean, me personally, I think this is more of a tear down. It looks like it's pieced together, like there's, you know, different years they did different things or something when they added on. Galley style kitchen, so again, very old. Benefit here, you got 3 fridges. Unfortunately, I don't think any one is probably going to be worth it. Some more pictures of the inside. Looks like that's the front door. That's the back door. Bathroom. Yep. And then here's a funny picture coming up. Here it is. Bang head here. Clearly somebody living here was not too excited or having some mental issues. Hopefully they're better now. We'll see. Probably not, since our house just got foreclosed on. Missing a vanity again. I mean, I don't see how this thing would really be a rehab, but maybe. You know, it is solid cinder block construction, and you have to always compare like what other houses in the area, so on and so forth. I personally think this one more than likely is a tear down. You're close to the beaches. It's hard to find property that is close to beaches, not in an HOA. Some people love the fact that they're not an HOA, and this provides that value. All right, check you out later. Let's go over 4623 Beneva Road in Sarasota. This one closed at $130,000, and The winning bid was won by the bank, the creditor, and they bought it for $130,000. Now, fast forward, they've already used the services of a real estate agent, and the bank has listed this as a real estate owned property, and they're turning around, they're trying to sell it for $199,000, which makes sense. So from time to time, these banks may wind up, having a bid in place to wind up resecuring the property. So some of these foreclosures are going to wind up being real estate owned. They're going to buy back the property, and some are going to get bought by private parties or third parties, as they're described in legal terms. And how do you know? Like, what's the difference? Because when you look, and you can see it here, they list out what the plaintiff max bid is. So when I put a number here, you can see plaintiff max bid by number 1. Okay. But that's not always the case. The plaintiff max bid in foreclosure auctions represents the maximum amount the plaintiff, often the lender or bank, is willing to bid for the property. However, the actual sales price at auction can be lower for several reasons, right? You're going to have competitive bidding. If no other bidders offer a higher amount, the property may sell for less than the plaintiff's max bid. But in addition to that, there are strategic decisions that are made with the banking as well. The plaintiff may choose not to bid up to their max bid if they don't believe the property is going to attract higher offers. Market value considerations. The plaintiff max bid might be based on factors like an outstanding loan amount or an assessed value, which could differ from the property's current value. This discrepancy in foreclosure auctions, as the plaintiff's max bid is more of a ceiling rather than a guaranteed bid amount. But hey, if you want to know more, let me know and we can talk foreclosure strategies.
All right, foreclosure auction. Last one I'm going to detail for this week on this update. This one went for just under $110,000. This is also in Sarasota, and it's a little bit further away from the downtown area. You're looking at 15 to 20, and also another probably good 20 minutes to get to the beaches. But this property represents, again, kind of good value on what you can find off market in these foreclosures and short sales. So I want to turn around and take a look at this with you. So you can see it's a small house, but it's in a quiet area, and it's not a bad area. I mean, this is not too far from where I live, near the mall by UTC, which is the largest mall that we have here in Sarasota. And from this location, it is kind of almost equidistant, a little bit closer probably to get to the mall and get to downtown fairly quickly. You can probably make it to the mall all day long within 10 to 15 minutes. But let's take a look at the property itself. Again, this one sold for $109,000 and change. You can see we got the concrete on the outside here. Looks like they got a brand new AC unit, which is always a good sign. It means somebody more than likely was probably living here. You can see they got the cans. This one might be the best value because at 109, this does not look like it's nowhere near a tear down just because of the area. These homes aren't valuable enough to support a tear down and then a rebuild of a new house. It wouldn't kind of line up with some of the older homes that we see here. But as a rental, thumbs up. You come in, you spend 110 at auction, plus fees, putting money into the property and then renting it out. You could easily get, I can't imagine you couldn't get a little bit over $2,000 a month, and I can't imagine you'd be over 200K all in between the amount of money you're going to put in and what you're spending to acquire the property. So anyway, I'm going to plan on doing these updates on a regular basis. So follow me on YouTube and other media channels, and I look forward to helping out anybody that I can. If you're interested in investing or finding off-market properties or simply looking at a premier property, I'm here to help you. Accredited buyer's agent, as well as certification in short sales and foreclosures. See you guys later.
When we look at some of the comps for the next property that was foreclosed on over here at 1083 Deer Hollow Way in Sarasota, you'll notice again, when you sell a house or you buy a house, you're buying in a range of values. And we can see it displayed on here. But either way, these foreclosures are representing good value because they're falling way under the range. So let's take a look. As you can see, detailed over here on my left, this property on Deer Hollow Way was valued, according to Property Onion, for $313. That's one in the range and then we know that it only sold for $109,000, and somebody was living there too, so it wasn't a complete teardown. And when we look at some of the other values on this property, when we look at RPR site, which to me is the best, because they're pulling multiple sources to evaluate homes, and they come in at the highest. They come in at 336 for a value, and then when we switch over here, we take a look at Zillow. Zillow's only at 288, so they're the least have the least smallest valuation. There it is. Anyway, so that is it for that property.